This is
fantastic. Babaji is also there.
yes, of course. So that is there.
So shall we begin? Okay, so namaste everyone. We will start this session by invoking the divine presence with Sri Aurobindo's Gayatri Mantra.
तत्सवितुर्वरं रूपं ज्योतिः परस्य धीमहि यन्नः सत्येन दीपयेत्
So welcome everyone to this 8th edition of the Sri Aurobindo's ICPR sponsored lecture series on Sri Aurobindo's cultural and political philosophy, nationalism and Swaraj. And today's topic is based on Sri Aurobindo's political Vedantism, which is a guide for Ek Bharat, Shrestha Bharat. And to give the welcome address, I would like to invite the Director, Center for Human Sciences, Sri Aurobindo University, Professor Sanatan Dharma. Welcome, sir.
Namaskar to all of you and most welcome to this ICPR sponsored lecture series. So this lecture series started last year in the month of August, 12th of August. We initiated this lecture series in order to celebrate Sri Aurobindo's 150th birth anniversary. And this whole series is sponsored by ICPR, Indian Council for Philosophical Research, Ministry of Education. And Center for Human Sciences got this opportunity as a part of its celebration of 150th birth anniversary. We did varieties of activities and programs. So we started the celebration with an international conference, which took place in Shimla in collaboration with the Advanced Studies in Shimla. Then we did one more national seminar on Sri Aurobindo's Life Divine, which happened in the Rishihood University campus. Then we had another national seminar on Sri Aurobindo and Sanskrit, which took place in the month of November last year. That happened in Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Delhi branch. As a part of this celebration of 150th birth anniversary, we also initiated a 150 hours course, which happened online with a number of students, around 80 to 90 students from all over, different parts of the globe. And within 1 year, the whole course was over. So this lecture series continues, and this is the 8th lecture in the series and 2 more lectures to go. So next month we will be having the final concluding ceremony of this lecture series, where we will be inviting 2 experts on Sri Aurobindo to conclude this series, and we will keep informing about the different activities. And a little bit about the Center for Human Sciences, which was established in 2022 in the month of May. So after its initiation, So Center for Human Sciences has taken up various projects. So we are working now on 5 different projects. So one of the major projects that is happening is Din Dayal Upadhyay's integral humanism. And we're also taking into consideration as a part of our research to include other thinkers and philosophers and their views on integral humanism and reconcile the thoughts and then address to the need of integral humanism, spreading this message of integral humanism to the youth of India and awakening the youth of India to this doctrine of Ekatma Manav Darshan that was given by Din Dayal Upadhyay ji. The second project that we have taken off is translating into English and Hindi the Sanskrit works of Vasishta Kavyakantha Ganapati Muni, who was the foremost disciple of Ramana Maharshi, and his works are compiled and edited in 12 volumes. So some of the eminent professors and scholars are engaged in translating his works into English and Hindi. So that's another project. We have also taken up another, these projects are funded by the CSR and private funding agencies. And there are 3 more Government of India funded projects which are happening at the Center for Human Sciences, Rishihud University. So one is like we're working on creating qualitative children's literature in Sanskrit. Then we are working on Avadhan Kala and consciousness studies. And we're also working on another fascinating project called robotics in ancient India. So these are 5 major projects which are happening, and we're also offering many short courses. So after Sri Aurobindo's course, we offered a mantra yoga. We offered another course on Panini's Ashtadhyay, and at present we're offering a course on the sacred texts of Bharat, introducing the Vedas, Upanishads, Gita, Tantra, and many other philosophical texts and the epics of India. So these are the different activities, and then we have a small team of 7 people who are engaged in a very dedicated manner on the various projects that we are working and various activities of the center. So this I took as an opportunity to present a little bit of about the Center for Human Sciences. And today's topic is really fascinating and a need for time, because spirituality indeed is the key to the heart of India. So anything that India has contributed so far, all that our ancient seers and sages have created, so they have kept spirituality at the center. And Sri Aurobindo's political Vedantism, and especially looking at the future of Bharat, the bright future of Bharat. So he put a lot of emphasis on creating a harmonized, spiritualized society, and the governance, bureaucracy, or any aspect of the government of India, any aspects of the politics, so must be based on the moral, ethical values, the spiritual values, and the dharma. So there lies the success of India's politics. There lies how we can create a Shrestha Bharat, and then how we can unite this nation. And then we can fulfill this dream of Sri Aurobindo and the mother and many other visionaries, the possibility of this Akhanda Bharat, or the dream that they dreamed. Address to this, I request Nilab to proceed with the rest.
Okay, so thank you very much, sir, for updating our audience about the works that we are Center for Sciences. I also want to inform our audience that they can visit online.rishihood.edu.in. I repeat, online.rishihood.edu.in, so that by visiting there, they can subscribe to all our short courses as per their preference. So moving on, the topic for today's discussion is Sri Aurobindo's Political Vedantism, a guide for Ek Bharat Shrestha. And in this lecture, our primary motive will be to try and understand how to divest politics from its negative connotations. We will see how we can infuse politics with Vedantic ideas and ideals. And finally, to reconcile the ethical human conduct in political life with that of the philosophy of the Vedantic knowledge as laid down in our ancient texts like Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita and so on. And for this, we have with us Professor Sudhir Kumar ji. He is the retired Dean of Research and Director, Research and Development Cell, and a Professor of English at DES Multidisciplinary Research Center, Punjab University. And he has more than 90 research papers to his credit. And these papers are based on Indian cultural studies, new literature, Indian literary theory, translation studies, and comparative literature. He has also been awarded with the prestigious KK Birla Foundation Fellowship on Comparative Literature to work on Gandhi and literary theory. He has also been nominated as a member of academic committee at Indian Institute of Advanced Study, Shimla, and a member of academic committee at Indian Policy Foundation. So without much further ado, I would request sir to please come and deliver today's lecture. Welcome, sir.
They are trying to fix it. Right.
Yeah, so am I audible now?
Now you are audible.
Yeah.
So please make someone of one of us as the host. Then the recording doesn't pause. Co-host.
Yeah.
Okay. Proceed.
All right.
Proceed, Nila, because you were not audible. So please.
Okay. Yeah, so I request Professor Sudhir Kumar to begin with today's lecture.
Namaskar. Pranam to all the Shreshthas and Sahridayas, the Vidwan Acharyas who have gathered here online through this Abhasi mode in order to discuss various aspects of truth. And I'm also grateful to the Rishihood University and ICPR and the Ministry of Education for inviting me to offer my modest tribute to the ongoing Sankalpa and ongoing Yagna as envisioned by Professor Sampadanandji, the Rishi, a modern Rishi, located at Rishihood University. So the name of the university itself suggests so many implications and so many Vyanjanas. And the issue is that a Rishi has to have a hood, and this hood comes from an anglicized framework where no Rishi would ever imagine that a Rishi in India or in the construction of the name of a university would be joined and combined with a hood. So that is again an issue which I think is central to the discussion of the subject that has been given to me by Acharya Sampadanandji. First, I would like to start with an invocation. Om Poonam Madaha Poonamidam Poonat Poonam Udachyate Poonasya Poonamadaya Poonameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. This invocation itself exemplifies how different we are as a society, as a nation, as a family, as a civilization, and how our notion of ek is different from the ek of the Asuri forces. That is the forces, you can call them Western, materialist. And when I say Western, materialist, secular, these forces are very much within us, because that is the Asuri Sampada and that is the Deviya Sampada. And India does not hold a brief to the notion that everything Indian would be always good and everything Western would be bad, because these Deviya and Asuri Sampada both are trying to capture this Ek. That is the issue. Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat, the entire political slogan and discourse which goes with it, doesn't define the sources of this Ekatmakata. It only defines that be decent boys and girls and be decent secular citizens, interact with each other, one another, and live as honest, moral citizens of India. It has no overarching narrative which should be dharma-centric, which goes beyond, which transcends the barriers of time, place, as well as gender, caste, race. All these kinds of binaries and divisions, they are transcended by that overarching narrative, which is so sadly missing from the entire conceptualization of this Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat. I give you an example, a concrete example. How this Ek Bharat, the forces that are trying to destroy India, they are the ones that want an Ek India. And they also want to make a Shrestha Bharat, because that is the Shrestha Bharat, not a dharma-centric Bharat, not a Sanatan Dharmi Bharat, as envisioned by one of the greatest sons of India, Sri Aurobindo. These are the forces which are quite hostile to whatever Sanatan Dharma proposes, or Sanatan Dharma, you can say, envisions. These are the forces which are most active in proposing that we want to have Ek India. And since that is the Ek India according to their own vision, which is secular, liberal, left, asuric, materialistic, consumeristic, aggressive, jingoistic, fascist, Nazi, you go on adding adjectives to it. We only say this is the adharmic view of Ekata. I give you an example. Recently, Government of India, Ministry of Education, a very highly placed body, sent me the pedagogy material. Sampadananji, please listen to it. And that I was the editor of that period of Bhakti, the period of Bhakti. And I was supposed to edit 25 units. Even your university was going to teach and use that material for pedagogy purpose, for Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat. Unluckily for them, luckily for me. As ill luck would have it for them, and as good luck would have it for me, I was made the editor of that Sankalpa, of that Prakalpa. So I read those 25 units, and what I found out, and I officially submitted my submissions to the committee concerned. What did it say? That India was virtually a hellhole till the advent of Islam and Christianity. India became civilized. India became an abode of peace, progress, brotherhood, and harmony only when the moralizing impact, liberalizing impact, the spiritually democratic impact of Islam and Sufi, and later on, the British colonial discourse, the British colonial rule, liberated the Indians from the stranglehold of Brahmanicalism or Brahminism. Whatever is Hindu, whatever is Sanatan is Brahmanical. Now, no Britisher wrote it. No person belonging to a kind of another religious community, I would say. It was only a Hindu who wrote it, or various Hindus contributed to that. They had no patience to write about the massive contribution of the Sanatan Dharma to the tradition of Bhakti. And Bhakti was not a mere abstract philosophical domain. It was Bhakti, Karma, and Jnana. And the harmony of Bhakti, Karma, and Jnana, which is neither Margi nor Lokik. They say that this was only Sanskritic, Brahmanical, because it was Margi. And the Prakrit, Apabhransh, and the languages used by the people in the Loka, They contradicted, they rebelled against this Brahminical stranglehold, and this was not possible, so they crossed over. Now, so the history started from 500 AD, the Bhakti period, 600 AD to be precise, from Andal down to 18th century. This was the time span. And during this time span, the only point of redemption, the redeeming feature, was the advent of Islam, and later on, the advent of the British power. Ek Bharat, Shrestha Bharat. The record is still with the ministry. This is no fiction. No name of, there is no Advaita. There is no Bharati Vedanta. There is no Vishishtadvaita. There is no Dvaitadvaita. There is no Dvaita. There is no Nimbakacharya, Vallabhacharya, Madhvacharya, no Rupa Goswami. There is no Bhakti Vedanta. There is no Shaiva Vedanta. The only thing is that it is all Brahmanical. Now, this is one thing which is in record still. This is being, as I said, this is another thing, another person who wants to have an Ek India, Ek Bharat, and Shrestha Bharat. This is the book, and Sampadanandji knows it. This is edited by Anant Kumar Giri, published by Routledge, London and New York. You read the introduction. You read the politics of representation of this unity of India. As Sampadanandji said, because Ek Bharat, Shrestha Bharat has a very noble aim, a very noble objective. We are not contesting the usefulness, the utility, the desirability of the objective. I am only trying to say, without having a dharmic architecture and articulating it firmly, you are only trying to pay lip service to the Sanatan Dharma and a dharma-centric unity, a Sanatan Dharma-centric unity, which is quite politically correct, which is secularly correct, because it is secularly centric or secularly oriented. It is not spiritually oriented. So this says that the government of India is at fault because those anti-India forces, Rashtradohi Shakti, which are being questioned by the government of India, the present government of India after 2014, they are harassing, humiliating, and persecuting the dissenters, the moral dissenters, like, I'm not going to name those persons that this erudite scholar names as the disciples of Gandhi as well as Sri Aurobindo. You read this is page 14 and 15. Mahatma Gandhi and Sri Aurobindo, this is the title. 2022, this book was published. This is in international circulation. And Sampadanandji knows the trajectory of such discourses as well. Ek Bharat, the unity of India. So those, like the snakes in the Ganga, Rajiv Malhotra ji takes this issue head on. Unless there is a narrative of Bharat, which is dharma-centric, which celebrates the diversity of India precisely because there is an underlying dharma-centric unity. There is dharma that upholds that kind of efflorescence of diversities, because diversities per se may be destructive and have been destructive. So how these diversities ultimately get harmonized into that matrix of unity, that is spiritual, that is dharmic. It is, I'm sorry to say, and I'll come to Sri Aurobindo, how he questioned these two terms which are used in preference to dharmic. The term dharma is not to be used. What is to be used instead? The moral, the ethical. And Sampadanand, who knows it better than Sampadanandji? Sri Aurobindo has a running quarrel with the usage of these two terms, morality, the moral, the ethical, and the spiritual. In the context of India, the moral and ethical are the lower attributes of human character. I'm not speaking as Sudhir Kumar. I'm only foregrounding. Now the person said, why do you want to hide? Even the term spiritual, kindly read the definition of the spiritual in the Oxford English Dictionary. And kindly compare it with our own notion of Devatva and Adhyatma. Sampadananji, do you think it would be, I'm saying, injustice to use the non-translatable called Adhyatma and superimpose it as an Adhyasa onto, through sheer violence, hermeneutic violence, onto Adhyatma. You use the term, the spiritual, even spiritual, but we have to make use of language. So therefore, my second point that we have first is that, look at this, another example. Is to the history of civilization, medieval India from 600 AD to 1750 AD. As I told you, Ek Bharat, Shrestha Bharat, the period was 600 AD. Arvindji, pranam. Arvindji, mark the period, Arvindji. You are trying to create a young India. Young thinkers you are trying to promote in India. Would you promote young thinkers who are Sanatan Dharmis, who are not only Hindus or Muslims or Buddha or Jain or Sikhs, simply because their entire jnana and karma is rooted in the notion of dharma? How does this book address their historical consciousness? Their ateh as a pramana. Ateh is a pramana. What happened to us? What is our historical, what is our past? So from 600 AD to 1750, remember, this is a 259 page long book. And out of 259, 200 pages, 205 pages are given to Islam. Irfan Habib is the writer. Who is the publisher? Please read it carefully. What's the year of publication? Now, these issues have got to be discussed, and then Sri Aurobindo has to be started. If you brush aside these issues and create a sanitized Sri Aurobindo who fits into these mills of political correctness and a presentable, a tinopal, हम लोग छोटे थे तो tinopal आता था, tinopal, सबको साफ कर देता था. We don't need a tinopalized, a sanitized Sri Aurobindo. We want to have our own intimacy with Sri Aurobindo's vision. We want to have our quarrels with Sri Aurobindo's vision. And that is why we are in the tradition of bhakti. हमारा द्वंद्व भी होगा, हमारा प्रेम भी होगा. मेरा अरविंद मेरा सखा भी है, मेरा अरविंद मेरा आचार्य भी है. We don't want to have a Mahatma Gandhi type Mahatma called Mahatma Sri Aurobindo, who is the father of the nation. We don't want any such father of the nation. We don't want any such yogi who doesn't speak to us as a Sanatan Dharmi Indian, first and the last. And if we don't have this courage, then Sri Aurobindo is open, as Indian tradition is open-ended. Mind you, the Asuri forces take the center stage. And I will again go back to the notion of political Vedantism, jo Sampadanand ji ne di hai mujhe. And I will quote from that very essay, Sampadanand ji, that he refers to the Asuri Shaktis. Political Vedanta is possible only because you tackle the Asuri Shakti. Arvind ji, samajh mein aaya? If you let go of, if you just allow these Asuri Shakti, Rakshasas he calls them, there is no possibility of Sanatan Dharma or even political Vedantism. So out of 259 pages, 205 pages, that is more than 88% reserved for Islam and its impact. Look, and the period is 600 AD to 1750. For these 12, only 3 times Chol, only 2 times Pallav, only 3 times Ahoms. They are only getting passing references in this book. This is when I checked up the details of the Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat. देखिए संपदानंद जी, कुछ बातें अप्रिय होती है, लेकिन आपको सुनना पड़ेगा, सरकार को भी सुनना पड़ेगा. If we just do not want to listen to these kinds of things which are happening under our very nose, this is the source book. No reference to Chol, no Uttar, 600 AD, and there is no Vijayanagar Empire. The only empire is the Mughal Empire. There is no Ahom Samrajya. There are no Pallavas, no Pandyas, no Cheras, no Sangam, no Tollakapyam, no Kambaramanam. Look at this kind of Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat textbook. Look at the dictionaries being prepared under NCERT. Dictionary of Sociology, online available. Sampananji, you ask them to make it available to all the students of Rishiyodi University. Kindly, these Dictionary of Sociology, Dictionary of History, you won't find any mention of Sanatan Dharma, any mention of Rashtra, Rajya, Bhumi, Praja, Samaj, Loka Sangraha, Yagya, Adhyatma. These entries are not there in the Dictionary of Sociology, Dictionary of History. NCERT. When were they published? They were published under the very nose of this government. 2017. Neelab, you are a researcher. So, look at another book, National Culture of India. The National Culture of India. Publisher, you know who is the publisher. National Book Trust. Look at the textuality of the national culture. No reference in this book of Sanatan Dharma and that jnana which is innately grounded in the Vedic Vangmaya. There is no notion of Sanskriti. Remember, Keywords to Modern Indian Culture, published by Bloomsbury, 2022. Peter D'Souza and Rukmini Bhaya Nair. Neela, please note it. Ask your students to read the kinds of keywords. There is no Rashtra, there is no Praja, there is no Grama, there is no discourse on Dharma. There is no Sanskriti. There is no Sanskriti. There is no Sadachara. There is no Prakriti. Now, keywords. Raymond Williams published keywords way back in 1970s in London. Those were the keywords by a liberal Marxist, a new leftist, to give us that vocabulary which will map the entire world and its culture through the vocabulary of Marxism. Arvind ji, samajh rahe hain? Haan ya na karo. And you are trying to create an Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat through such texts. Humayun Kabir, 1946. And he says that after the great emperors, he dedicates it to the third great emperor called Jawaharlal Nehru. To Jawaharlal Nehru, who like Ashoka and Akbar helped to discover and enrich Indian heritage. Humayun Kabir, Abid Hussain, Irfan Habib. No patient, and mind you, at all these stages, Sri Aurobindo's darshan was available. The only references are made to Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, but no reference has been made to Sri Aurobindo. In the entire pedagogy of school and university education, exceptions barring, no reference is made to the vision of Sri Aurobindo, because that is precisely Vedic. That is precisely Sanatana Dharmi vision. So now, this is the third thing, that we have to sensitize our own people who are who have, like our Prime Minister Modi ji, who has created a wonderful platform, a wonderful niti, Ek Bharat, Shrestha Bharat, to make it not, this should not be an eclectic discourse, so to please all and to please long. No, it should be grounded into Satya and Dharma, which should emanate from the discourse of Sanatan Dharma. Isliye, jo Sampadanand ji, I'm all for you that you say you have to divest this kind of negative connotations from politics, using Sri Aurobindo's darshan. Isn't it the fact? Because politics is a dirty word. Now, then there is another question, another thing that I'm trying to put before you. That political Vedantism, Sri Aurobindo wrote in English because of compulsion. But when he described the constructions of those avadharanas in English, he completely decolonized and de-Englished them. And the blunder that we commit, we immediately, first we read Sri Aurobindo through readers and don't go to the primary text or where these clippings with these textual quotes occur. And we pick up those English pratyas and start comparing them with the Western equivalents. Or these are the Western equivalents used like the political Vedantism itself. There's no space for any ism in Vedanta, as Vedanta is or as is explained by Sri Aurobindo. But what to do? We have to make use of this language. But look at his writings on Vedanta, Sampadanand ji. It is neither political nor an ism. It's not an ideology. It's not a part of false consciousness. ये बड़ा केयरफुल रीडिंग का काम. छुरस्य धारा निहिता दुर्त्यम, ये छुरे की धार जैसा है कि मैं पहले ये कह रहा हूं कि आपको पॉलिटिकल समझना होगा. What is the political in political Vedanta? So the political is not political. What I'm trying to say, political Vedantism used by Sri Aurobindo in 1907, in that long series of articles. Remember, from 11 to 23rd of April, Vande Mataram. So 11 to 23rd April 1907, this essay was published as The New Thought, the Doctrine of Passive Resistance. Now, you will see that how Sri Aurobindo was questioning, critiquing that what is the new thought? And what is the critique of the passive resistance? Is it resistance or what is more important? The passive part or the resistance part? And how would you marry or blend the adjective passive with the active agency of resistance? Passive resistance. This was the term which was in currency. As I tell you, there are problems if you want to understand the Sanatan Dharmi Vishwadrashti, which is political Vedantism. You have to do away with your proficiency in English is the first major hiccup, first major obstacle. अगर सबसे बड़ा अवरोधक तत्व है तो वो श्री अरविंदो को छोड़ दीजिए. It flows like सरस्वती. वो तो फिर सरस्वती है. परा पश्यंती मध्यमा से होकर वो वैखरी, अंग्रेजी की वैखरी आती है. उनसे क्या तुलना करनी? इज ए ऋषि, इज ए महर्षि, इज ए योगी. उससे मत तुलना करिए. Sri Aurobindo was also writing English. Can we use our Vak Shakti in whatever language of the world? Language is not a bar, is not a barrier at all. Provided we have our Vaikhari, that is the uttered speech, which is in consonance with at least our Pashyanti, Madhyama. है ना संपदानंद जी? यही तो कुंडलिनी योग है, यही तो आपका योग है. और योग क्या है? So don't compare yourself, the users and speakers of English, including me, an ignorant person, a fool. with the English used by Sri Aurobindo to sensitize us. This is number one. But English is the major obstacle in the educational architecture of India. This is the most important avarodhak tattva. Until or unless you create knowledges in Indian languages, there is no other alternative of Ek Bharat, Shrestha Bharat. To create therefore, translation activity as promoted by this Department of Human Sciences under the visionary leadership of Sampadananji is a welcome step in that direction. So my point is that Rajniti is not politics. Cannot be. They are two different notions. Politics comes from Greek politikos. Politikos is a mere reference to the process of governance. It refers to public, it refers to community. Politics comes from polis and politikos. So polis is the fort. So there is a nucleus of power, of state power, politics. Politics comes from two Greek roots, polis and politikos. These polis and politikos, like democracy, demos and kratos. So demos becomes subservient to kratos. Kratos becomes hegemonic, oppressive. So is the case with Western notion of politics. People remain absent. Srishti remains absent. Sarga remains absent. Values are not at the center. What is at the center is administration, is governance, politikos. Because people are meant to be administered, and this administration is value neutral, very secular, etymologically even. अगर आप इसकी मीमांसा करें तो और भी अंडरपिनिंग्स आपके आएंगे. ऐसे नहीं है, उनके यहाँ भी ethical imperative है, but that ethical imperative is different from the entire ecology of Sanatan Dharma. उनके यहाँ भी morality की बात है, ethical imperative की बात है. मार्क्स भी बहुत बात करता है morality की, आप अगर मार्क्स की writings में देखें. Then he says 1853 to 1856, 7 or even 8, those notes sent by Karl Marx to New York Herald Tribune. He says the most uncivilized, beastly, primitive people who are bereft of history, of knowledge, of morality are these Indians. So they are to be brought to history. They are being brought to history. Arvind ji, Young India. They are being brought to history through Irfan Habib. That out of 260 pages, 205, because we became civilized only with the, and the material which was sent to me, it conclusively proved it had all the references to the texts. Not that it was a gossipy narrative which was sent to me for editing. Because of secrecy, I'm not showing you my own comments as an editor. How disturbing were those comments? There's no Anandavardhan, there's no Abhinavgupta, there's no Kashmir, there's no genocide. No temple was destroyed in India under the impact of Islam. No Hindus were subjected to genocide and massacre under the impact of Islam. Bhakti period. The historical context. The historical context is that India was Brahminical, casteist, against women, against Shudras, and they were therefore fit to be civilized through Islam. Neela, please note. सोनीपत को स्वर्ण प्रस्थ नहीं कर पाए, दिल्ली को इंद्रप्रस्थ नहीं कर पाए, सेंगोल को सेंगोल ही कहा, which was a dharmadanda, Rajadanda. Sampadananji knows it better than me. So you might have said that this is the Sengol which we are going to place in the Sabha and Samiti of this Rashtra, but because not as a Sengol, because this is the Dharmadanda, that is our Rajadanda. No one said this, which is exactly the meaning or implication of that Sengol. अरविंद जी समझ में आ रहा है? So until or unless you just get out of this syndrome of always being politically right, so that I'm going to please Arvind for all times and for long, so Arvind should not be displeased with me, Sampadananji should not be displeased with me. We have to get away with this feeling. We have to come out with truth, which is well documented. And the vision of Sri Aurobindo does not need the agency of us all. This is the Sanatana vision. Anybody can pick up that dhara, that vimarsh, which comes out from, which runs through the veins of Mother India. India is a Shakti. Remember, he does. What about his views on this, in this envisioning India as a Shakti? चलिए मैं बाद में अब बात करूंगा. So look at the etymology of Rajniti. Raj, what is the meaning of Raj? जैसे हम करते पॉलिटिक्स का रूट वो है, तो राजनीति क्यों नहीं है? क्यों श्री अरबिंदो क्वेश्चन दैट आई विल नॉट कॉल माय पॉलिटिक्स धर्म, है ना? आपको पता है कि 1905 से ही उन्होंने कहना शुरू, 1907 के बाद ही बिकेम मोर वोकल. After and in the Uttarapara speech, he settled it for all times. Previously, he would say that Rajniti is dharma, that nationalism is dharma. But then he said, after 1907, this transformation took place because the seeds of the transformation were there. And he says that this is being misused by people. He said, only Sanatan Dharma is the true politics. Arvind Tripathi. So Gandhi could not say it. Look, this was at the same time when Gita Rahasya was published 1908. Sampadananji. ज्ञान कर्म का समन्वय ही भक्ति है. So this was Adi Shankara. ये देखिए, this is the strange thing was happening. Look, the fundamental unity of India. Radha Kumud Mukherjee, 1909, there was a lecture. 1912, 1914, this was published in London. Address delivered by Radha Kumud Mukherjee, perhaps in 1912 in London. Things were happening in India. Even Gandhi in Hindu Swaraj in 1909 placed dharma at the center. That is the only axis through which you can counter these Asuri forces. So Gandhi was also right in Hindu Swaraj that this axis, which in 1909. But Sri Aurobindo predates Gandhi, even in the usage of the term Swaraj. He says that Sanatana Dharma is the only Swaraj. Kyun Sri Aurobindo ji? Sanatan Dharma is the only Swaraj. Before Gandhi. Gandhi could say Purna Swaraj. Congress would come out with Purna Swaraj, 1929. But look at Sri Aurobindo from 1905 to 1909. So Raj, look, if you go to Vaman Shivram Apte, to shine, to glitter, to up, look, to glitter, to shine. Rajniti hai na? So our Rajniti, if you call it politics, is that which should be Prakashman. It should be Prakash. Raj, to shine, to glitter. And then third, this is the exact meaning. To be good or beautiful. To be good. Shivatva. Any Rajniti ka jo Raj hai, there is a Prakash. So it should be full of that glitter, that shine, that light, but it should also be for the good, for the Sundaram, for the Shivam of humanity. And then this also means to administer, shashan karna, rajya karna, but to lighten. Only the enlightened would be there as rulers and they would lighten others also. So, ये जो प्रकाश है, वह राज के केंद्र में है। द गुड तन्मे मना शिव संकल्पम अस्तु, ये जो शिव संकल्प है जो यजुर्वेद में है, इसके बिना राजनीति नहीं है, इस शिवत्व के बिना राजनीति नहीं है। सेकेंडली नीति, राजनीति, व्हाट इज नीति? नीति इज निर्देशन, नीति इज दिग्दर्शन, नीति इज प्रबंध, नीति इज आचरण, कंडक्ट. Mind you, all these things are absent from politics. नीति is आचरण, नीति is योजना, नीति is व्यवहार, नीति is शालीनता, and above all, नीति is dharma. Above all, नीति is all this. Do we have shiksha niti or education policy? In my paper sent to Ministry of Education, I propounded that you are making policies. Kindly don't make the Hindi translation of the policy as shiksha niti. Make a shiksha niti and make an English translation of it as shiksha niti. You don't have to translate it as education policy, because shiksha and education are poles apart, non-translatable. Again, as I said, until or unless you place the Indian first, the dharmic first, you neither have a sense of culture, nor do you have any sense of unity. That is not Eka Bharat. It is, as Sampanananji said, Ekatmak Bharat. It is Ekatmak Bharat. Only that Ekatmak Bharat can be Shrestha Bharat. Ekatmata par. Eko aham bahushyam. एक हूं इसलिए बहुत होकर मैं जगत में व्याप्त हूं. एको अहम बहुश्याम. Where are those fixities of ritual, of sect, of prophet, of othering others only to be converted or killed or humiliated as subordinate citizens? Where is that vision of exclusion, humiliation, victimization of others, and then including them into your own vision, which is sectarian, which has a very narrow domain, narrow scope of either you call it nation, whether it is a secular nation or a theocentric nation. We do not have that theocentric nationalism. So therefore, what is that niti? And niti again is grounded in dharma. Look at, there is another term, nyaya. Nyaya is also a synonym of dharma. Niti, nyaya. And that's why even an agnostic like Amartya Sen had to accept in the theory of justice that there is no other term. He doesn't have much patience with dharma either. But he says what to do. There is no other term in the entire epistemological tradition of the West that comes even close to dharma. Look at that massive concept. Again, it's एक ऋषि की ही संकल्पना है, इसलिए वो दृष्टा थे. Anyway, so this dharma which lies at the center, and which lies at the center in more senses than one. Because look at India's texts, whether they are the dharma, we wrote dharma sutras, we wrote kama sutras, we wrote smriti sutras or shastras. So there are books of either jnana, vijnana, dharma, as we said, dharma shastra, artha shastra, kama shastra, saundarya or kavya shastra. Even the books of astrology or jyotish, mathematics. Books, Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, they are all grounded in dharma. They are all grounded in purushartha. How that knowledge is tied to the purushartha, dharma, artha, kam, and moksha. And then again, with the centrality of dharma and moksha. So the liberation is the ultimate objective of each branch of knowledge is to enable a student or enable a citizen or enable a human being to attain that moksha, the stage of liberation. That liberation which presupposes the social, the political, the cultural, and moral emancipation also. Not that there is no social, political, economic liberation. No. Remember, had there been only Advaita in this world, we did not or could not have possibly have the 5 schools of Vedanta. Dvaita is as important as Advaita, and that is why Vishishtadvaita. Sri Aurobindo also counters that abstraction in the name of Advaita Vedanta. That we have to bring them together in order to understand the practical. That's why it is practical Vedanta. Again, as I said, read Bankim Chandra's Dharma Tattva, 1888, and Swami Vivekananda's practical Vedanta. Only then you can come to Sri Aurobindo's position of political Vedantism. And second is this suffix ism is also misleading. He was not using ism in the sense of an ideology. Political Vedanta is an ideology. He was using it in the sense of Vada. We have a Nyaya. In the Nyaya, we have a system of Vada. And I am not going into it. Look at the description of that Vada, that Katha, which presupposes, look, even Krishna said, even our Parameshwar said, that in the assemblies where questions are being debated, Arjuna, I am Vada. Chapter 10, verse 32. What Krishna said? That Vada pravadatamyam. जहां पर प्रवदन हो रहा है, वहां मैं उन विद्वानों का वाद हूं अर्जुन. Vada in that sense. Where truth itself has got to be encapsulated or understood through Vada. So Vada is a logical means to understand truth, but it's not an ideology. For ideology, you killed 50 million Jews. For ideology, it has not been ascertained, but you read Conrad Elst Negationism, or Sitaram Goel, or Ram Sarupji. For that ideology, which was theological in nature, crores, he said unrecorded, more than 40 crore Hindus were slaughtered in order to propagate that Vad in the sense of ism and ideology. So therefore, there is no Rashtravad possible in India. That is my second point. No Rashtravad. In Sri Aurobindo does not. He rather takes issues with this construction called nationalism. But he's not like Tagore also. There can't be a kind of dharma-rahit cosmopolitanism. Dharma-rahit cosmopolitanism. The ideal of human unity and the human cycle. I can quote from the essays. There is no time left. I say, look at the conception of that unity. Diversities can be dangerous if they are adharmic. Diversities per se, as diversities are dangerous, destructive. But there has got to be no uniformity either, no homogeneity either. Unity, ekatmakta rehna chahiye, ekata rehna chahiye. Integrity, therefore unity is again integrity. Therefore two English words, ekata and akhandata. So abhi there are our friends who are saying we need akhanda Bharat. Arvind ji, for your young thinkers, young Indians, akhandata chahiye. 25 crore from Pakistan, 25 crore from or 20 crore from Bangladesh, and 20 crore for India will make an Ek Bharat, Shrestha Bharat, akhandata and ekata. The vision of PFI for 2047. It is documented. You are not only the only one working for Ek Bharat, Shrestha Bharat. There is the missionary zeal. When the Pope came here, he announced from the housetops that Asia is ripe for the harvest of souls. Sampadanand. Ek Bharat ho, Ek Asia ho, Ek Vishwa. Again, so much injustice is done to our Vedic Vangmay. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The greatest misconstruction or abuse of our Vedic wisdom that is possible and is being done through the misinterpretation, even rather perversion of this Ek Aham Brahmasmi, Second one, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Mahopanishad. I am Nijah Paro Veti Galana Laguchetsa. When there is no par, only then Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is possible. So long as there are par, others, Swattubhav and Shatrubhav, they go together. Therefore, Sri Aurobindo said that politics is for Kshatriya. Rajaniti mein Kshatriya honge. Only then Dharma can be protected. Only one who could say this. That's why he's not there on the national plate of educational, pedagogical, and research modules. Because the only one who could say emphatically that Kshatriyahood will promote Dharma. Ramana Maharshi is possible because there is Swami Vivekananda and Sri Aurobindo. The Kshatriyas, those who sowed the seeds of intellectual Kshatriyahood, those who sowed the seeds of there is Samartha Ramadas, and therefore Shivaji, Chhatrapati Shivaji. There is Chanakya, and therefore Chandragupta. There is Lalitaditya, and therefore Kashmir Shaivism could flourish. And when, after 13th century, when there were no protectors of Dharma or Kshatriya, what happened to Kashmir Shaivism in Kashmir? Important question. So my point is that these things are to be taken. Now, what I'm trying to say, I will take head on. First, the quote which was sent to me by my friend Sampadananji, it's a wonderful quote. And he has also asked me to explain the implications of this quote, and the quote reads something like which cannot be questioned or which does not need any explanation because it is so self-explanatory. Vedantism accepts no distinctions of, I quote Sri Aurobindo, that is the 1907, that is Bande Mataram, and the new thought discourse, the doctrine of passive resistance. So he says that my path is the path of political Vedantism. But how he defines it, as Sampadananji wanted me to explain this. Vedantism accepts no distinctions of true or false religions, but considers only what will lead to more or less surely, more or less quickly to moksha, that is liberation. So this is an important assumption on my part also. And Sri Aurobindo says that Vedantism is directly related to inspiring people to be on the path of moksha sooner rather than later. And then he says, moksha is spiritual emancipation and realization of divinity within. These are the three you can interpose these three positions. They are almost one. If you have a spiritual realization, spiritual emancipation, and realization of divinity within, as I said, only then Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Only then Aham Brahmasmi. Only then Tat Tvam Asi. Otherwise, they will destroy that Tat and they will establish their Tvam. Where is that thatness? The thatness is going to be slaughtered. The thatness, this otherness, until or unless there is a tadatmya. So he says that India, our attitude is a political Vedantism. India, free, one and indivisible, is the divine realization to which we move. Emancipation, our aim. To that end, each nation must practice the political creed which is the most suited to its temperament and circumstances, for that is the best for it, which leads most surely and completely to national liberty and national self-realization. So your Rashtrabodha, your entire Rashtra Dharma is dependent on your spiritual emancipation, your efforts to have your moksha, or you can say how to do it in English, I don't know, but salvation, redemption, or liberation, these are the terms which are used. So if your all national efforts do not lead you towards that goal, which is the goal of Sanatan Dharma, now this is political Vedantism. So, but this is the last part of that important essay. This is the conclusion actually. How is it that political Vedantism can be the discourse of India? It can be the vision of Bharat, which is united. How can we possibly attain this unity, this ekatmakta? And then he says, as I said, it was too important that first we have to divest politics from its negative connotations, and second, to infuse politics with Vedantic ideas, and to reconcile the ethical human conduct in political life with that of the philosophy of Vedantic knowledge. Now, Sampadananji, the essay itself is an answer and antidote to this issue. That is, while critically examining the rationale as well as the limits of doctrine of passive resistance, Sri Aurobindo, in his famous essay that is quoted by you, underlines the basic and fundamental and foundational coordinates of his vision of political Vedantism. But in doing so, he does not forget to logically remind his countrymen to be aware of the following. First is Shatrubodha. I am quoting the same essay. What he says, to have an understanding of the asserts and the rakshasas, who are your enemies. Your work of national emancipation is a great and holy yajna. This national emancipation, this spiritual realization is a holy yajna conducted by this Rashtra. And the means, what are the means? He says that boycott, Swadeshi, national education, and every other national activity, great or small, are only the major or minor parts. So what he says, that if we want swatantra, that is liberty, again I said liberty, freedom, and independence, these are the three terms available to us in English to suggest swatantra, and no, not even one term gives us the sense of either swadhinata or swatantrata. Oxford English Dictionary, their best dictionary. Liberty and freedom are having the maximum number of negative connotations. Liberty and freedom, and then independence. Negative connotations. Therefore, the secular, liberal, the doctrine of the market always presupposes freedom and liberty. That is laissez-faire, then laissez-aller. These are the two important doctrines. Freedom चाहिए उनको, उन आसुरी forces को. And remember, this is, आपको मैं बताऊंगा कैसे हमारी भगवत गीता में संपदानंद जी ने कहा, आप कोट करिए, आसुरी लक्षण, आसुरी संपदा has been characterized as a major presence in the world. Apart from the Deviya Sampada, you have only 26 features of Deviya Sampada in chapter 16, where there are as many as 40 characteristic features of Asuri Sampada. You have only 3 shlokas devoted to Deviya Sampada. But you have a whole host of 10, 11, 12, 13 shlokas where these 40 characteristic feature of Asuri Sampada. And lo and behold, look at the beauty of Lord Krishna's vision, that he says it's very difficult to discriminate between Devi and Asuri. I will tell you how. Sri Aurobindo did his homework, essays on the Gita. They are camouflaged under the subterfuge, under the facade, under the illusion of Devi. They appear before you. They may be governmental, they may be ideological, they may be even religious, they may be political. They all say that we are very Deviya. We are all working for the moral emancipation, moral empowerment, human rights, freedom of speech. They are all the big slogans which are morality oriented. What is immoral about freedom of speech? But then there is no absolute freedom or right. And Sri Aurobindo knew it before the Constitution Committee, or that you can say Constituent Assembly, discussed the implications of these terms. So, खैर, तो वो क्या कहता है? श्री अरबिंदो कहते हैं कि the point is that there are so many Rakshasas, there are so many Asuras, which are ready to subjugate you, to destroy you, to derail you, to confuse you. And therefore, you have to counter them. You have to counter them. If you do not know how to counter them with the dharmic force, but every great yajna, Sampadananji, this is a political Vedantism, is a great yajna to be executed by all of us. But in this task, this project also presupposes that it has its Rakshasas who strive to baffle the sacrifice, this yajna, to bespatter it with their own dirt, or by guile, or by violence, to put out the flame of this yajna. I am not speaking. I'm quoting Sri Aurobindo. And then he says, but even the greatest rishis of old could not, when the Rakshasas were fierce and determined, keep up the sacrifice without calling in the vow of the Kshatriya. So, nirveer hokar jeena, aparakrami hoke jeena. The rishis could not hold their own sacrifices, their yajna, their jnana yajna. They could not. Even the karma yogis could not perform their karma without invoking the vows of the Kshatriya. We should have the vow of the Kshatriya ready for use, Sri Aurobindo. Political Vedantism does not effloresce, or does not grow in a gamla, in a secluded pot where you fertilize it with urea and compost. Your discursive compost, your discursive fertilizers cannot produce. It is neither Sanatan Dharmi nor Vedanta. So he says, we should have the vow of the Kshatriya ready. I am quoting from the same essay from which Sampadananji took up or lifted this quote. For use, though in the background. So he says the background, the context. Adi Shankar is there. Because by that time, look at the political spectrum of India. Look at the political and historical context of India. So from Kalali to Kashmir and Kanada, he and his disciples were not slaughtered. Am I right or wrong? There were no secular intellectuals like all of us sitting here, who will value and assess the significance of the work of Sampadananji and Arvind Tripathi and Nilab through some Rutledge-sponsored or NCRT-sponsored dictionaries of culture, whether Nilab's vision or version of India's Sanatan Dharma is correct or incorrect, as it was done to check out the feasibility, the usability, the eternal significance of Sanatan Dharma, articulated by even Gandhi and Sri Aurobindo and Swami Vivekananda and Bankim Chand. Satya and entire Bankim Chand was projected as a votary of militant Hinduism, fascism. Who did it? The Hindus. Who did it? Those who were ruling us. Those who were having the nation and national administration in their hands. They made us how to hate India logically, how to hate India through Mimamsa of their own. So an adharmic Mimamsa, an adharmic Nyaya, an adharmic Darshan, an adharmic Gyan, a secular Gyan. Dharma nirpeksh ho, अब जब धर्म ही निरपेक्ष हो गए तो बचा क्या फिर भारत में? ये कौन सा है एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत? I have no patience with this ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat. Anyway, so this business of Kshatriya, this strength. So, and he said, whatever leads only to the continued subjugation of our minds and bodies and spirit must be spewed out as mere vileness and impurity. और इसलिए ध्यान रहे, जब दैवी संपत्ति शुरू होता है तो उसमें अभय सबसे पहला गुण है संपदानंद जी, अभय, सत्वम संशुद्धि। ध्यान रहे, वो जो 26 देवीय गुण हैं, सनातन धर्म इज प्रिसाइसली, अगेन यू कैन सी इट्स एन इंडेक्स ऑफ सनातन धर्म। धृति क्षमा दमो अस्तेयम, वो जो 10 धर्म के लक्षण है मनुस्मृति में, वो भी that's a kind of compendium. It's a ready reckoner. If you want to cultivate those धर्म के 10 लक्षण, then you are सनातन धर्मी। धीर विद्या सत्यम अक्रोधो दशकम धर्म लक्षण। और अगर आप ऐसा नहीं करते तो धर्म एवं तो हंति, धर्मो रक्षते रक्षतः, तस्मात् धर्मो न हंतव्यो, मानव धर्मो हतो अवधीत। वो destroyed dharma will eventually kill all of us, the Hindus sitting, because the adharmic forces, the asuri forces are so active, the rakshasas are so active. And remember, they will actually, as the Bhagavad Gita says, and I will quote from chapter and verse, that Bhagavad Gita says that the asuri forces have that kind of passion and power to create a kind of sense of gullibility. It will be very difficult to discriminate between the forces of asuri, the asuri forces and the devi forces. The Bhagavad Gita says it. Remember, the same, the Mahabharata, Shanti Parva, as well as Manusmriti says that follow dharma, because only dharma will protect you, but abandon dharma, because if by following a particular Vishishta dharma, greater harm is being done to society and loka. Remember, even abandon that dharma that eventually supports adharma. That is contextual use. Sanatan Dharma gives you that kind of handle. That Shanti Parva. And look at the Manusmriti itself. Parityajet tad dharma. उस धर्म का, पहले तो वो कहता है अधर्म का त्याग करना है, धर्म को फॉलो करना है. But he says, lo and behold, even by following a particular, एक विशिष्ट धर्म है, एक सामान्य धर्म, एक स्वधर्म है. If your swadharma, by following your swadharma, you are destroying Bharat as a rashtra. Swadharma has got to be abandoned. Swadharma cannot go against your rashtra dharma and manav dharma. Again, this kind of, as using a Western jargon, you can say contrapuntal meanings, contrapuntal readings. A Gayatri Chakravarti, Spivak and Homi Bhabha can attack and will always attack India because they create the Shastras, adharmic, dharma-nirpeksha Shastras, and they are the acharyas of creating dharma-nirpeksha Gyan. Your entire education system is in the grip of that Western epistemology, peddled by our own Indian critics and thinkers. As I said, can the subaltern speak? There can be no greater example of untruth, falsehood, vitanda. There are 3 categories. Sampadananji knows it best. Vitanda, chal, and jati. How to defeat the opponent? They take recourse of vitanda, cavil, destructive logic, adharmic. So, chal, jati, they all are used by these forces. Our system of nyaya, our vision of logic, it perspectivizes all these tricks and strategies used by those who want to have a victory, who want to have their own victories, because only through those victories, discursive, intellectual, or cultural victories, they can colonize others, convert others. So that is important. So again, this is important. And now, Sri Aurobindo, look at in this essay that we have quoted. I'm quoting from 13th July 1911. These are the autobiographical notes, volume 36. Sri Aurobindo's. Be very careful to follow my instructions in avoiding the old kind of politics. Why is political Vedantism different from the old kind of politics? First, it is dharma-centric Rajniti. Adhyatma-centric Rajniti, but Sri Aurobindo says, now he says, spirituality is India's only politics. Spirituality is dharma. Spirituality is India's only politics. The fulfillment of the Sanatan Dharma is its only Swaraj, 1911. And what is the process? Now, how to bring about this political Vedantism, which is the dharma-centric Swaraj, which is the dharma-centric worldview of India, which has got to be put into the acharana of our Shreshtas, of leaders. Satyam vad, but dharmam char. The three Upanishads, Shikshavalli. Satya to bolo, but dharmam char. You have to act in accordance with dharma. If by speaking truth only, without dharma, you can do greatest injustice to your community, your family. You can substantiate it with so many quotations. Otherwise, hota dharmam vad satyam char. Nilab, note it. Satyam char dharmam vad. Satyamev jayate is possible because dharma eva jayate. It is through satya and dharma. This is the yuti that goes together. धर्म रथ चाहिए राम को, उसका नाम सत्य रथ दे सकते थे. I am not undermining the importance of truth. Mind you, you can't dissociate satya with dharma. It is not the satya of a jihadi outfit. This is not the satya, this is not the shanti of that faith that presupposes, as Sri Aurobindo as well as Baba Sahib Ambedkar said, that shanti is possible only within the fold of that particular religion. There's no other meaning of shanti there. There's no shantam, there's no advaitam, there's no anya, there is no sat chit ananda. Tell me which other vision except the Sanatan Dharmi vision, that is the Hindu vision of Bharat, has the concept of Sat Chit Anand. The laptop that I am speaking from and is visible to you, that is artificial intelligence. That is also Satya. That is Satya because it is grounded in that essence that is Brahma. So there is nothing outside Satya. Even Asatya is a manifestation of Satya. We go to that extent of making it open-ended. Nasadi, what is Nasadiya Sukta? Where are the full stops? How can we convert others? We can't convert others. We can't kill others. So he says that I have no doubt that we shall have to go through our parliamentary period in order to get rid of the notion of Western democracy. Again, a process. You have to go through this process of Western democracy only to get rid of this altogether. Whether the time has come or not, you have to see. Democracy, particularly parliament, prostitute. Yeah, he used the most abusive language Gandhi used, was always for the intellectuals of India like us, who speak in English, who perpetrate Englishness through their conduct and through their dominance. Gandhi had the most abusive vocabulary. And so was the case with Swami Vivekananda, and so is the case with Sri Aurobindo. English is not our enemy, Englishness is. But what to do? With this language, there is so much of him. He talks of that hypnotism, that hypnosis worked upon by the colonial rule, colonial dominance, that we considered the means as an end, English. So English as a means, but not an end. But so anyhow. And then he said, as it happens with the individuals, all that was evil, all the wrong sanskaras, imprints and wrong emotions and mental and moral habits rose with it and misused the divine force. Hence, all that orgy of political oratory, democratic fervor, meetings, processions, passive resistance, all ending in bombs, revolvers, and coercion laws, God has struck it all down. This moderatism, the bastard child of English liberalism, moderatism, to please all and please long. This wishy-washy thing, we are also moderates. We are always, I'm invited to speak on Raja Dahir. by Ministry of Culture. They said that don't, you speak on Raja Dahir, Raj Sinaji Pranam, but don't take the name of, you take the names of Arabs, but not take the names of Muslims. This is the intellectual stupidity of the first order. What is happening in India? You speak on Alexander the Great without mentioning that he was a Greek. You say that Anandavardhana and Abhinavgupta, they were great thinkers without speaking about their Kashmiri identity and Kashmiri history. What is happening? Look at, he says, these are the bastard, he uses this word, this bastardization of culture, this bastardization of our, this Varna Sankarata. Paradharmo bhayavaya. Brahmans should remain Brahman. Yes, Brahmins, if they become Kshatriya, well and good. But be Kshatriyas then. When you have to be a Kshatriya, you have to be a Kshatriya. When you have to be a... He says that what will happen to this India if our defense forces become Advaitin? I'm not saying this myself. This is Sri Aurobindo. How will you defend India if all your protective gear, people who wield sword in their hands for the protection of the people, this Bharat, they become Advaitin? So no, Advaita is not meant for them. That's why political Vedantism, therefore practical Vedanta, therefore Vyavaharik Vedanta, therefore Dvaita Dvaita, therefore Vishishta Dvaita. और मुझे माफ कर दीजिए, any kind of absolutism, whether it is Sanskritic, कि नहीं, we have to be only through Sanskrit and those tikas, be very Vyavaharik, as Sri Aurobindo tells us. Sri Aurobindo could not produce even one more yogi like Sri Aurobindo. We are still in search of another yogi like Sri Aurobindo. Don't pretend that you have attained that stage of samadhi, that Jivan Mukti, that Ramana Maharshi did. We should be on that path, but we are in that sansara, full of illusion, full of snares, full of hinsa, full of dvesha, and therefore the biggest perversion of our Vedic Vangmaya is that we said that it projects ahimsa, absolute ahimsa. What is Manya Sukta doing in the Vedas? Manya Sukta, let us have anger, ethical anger, moral anger, spiritual anger. We have to conquer our enemies. Prithvi Sukta, let there be no one who should be our enemy. We should not be enemies to others. Lekin let there be, and if there are enemies, they are got to be eliminated. ये किसने कहा कि आपके यहाँ legitimate, ethical? This is the sansara bodh. Advaita flourishes because there is sansara bodh. Atma bodh is possible only when there is the laukika bodh. From that process, you transcend to the state of consciousness, where only the I remains. So that he says that sattvic mind will emerge in India. He says, know that there will be plenty of trouble and error we have to face, but we shall have a chance of putting our feet on the right path. In all, I believe God to be guiding us. God means, again, that not Semitic, Abrahamic God, God Parameshwar. That Parameshwar to be guiding us, giving the necessary experience, preparing the necessary conditions. Mind you, this motherland is Shakti. Bhavani, आप जरा देखिए, 1905 it was written. What is the conceptualization of that Bhavani Mata? This whole Rashtra is Shakti. And what is holding it down? He says that it is your own lack of courage, lack of viryam, lack of parakrama, lack of unity. Therefore, you have to create that Bhavani Mandir. 1905. It is before Uttarpara's speech, I will tell you. He could sense, and he was highly influenced by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay's Anandamata, as well as Swami Vivekananda. It is that organization of Hindus That is the Sanatan Dharmi people of India. And they will have their Shakti, organize their Shakti, regulate their Shakti, collect their Shakti, so that it is through that Shakti Punja, that in New India, the Sanatan Dharmi India would emerge. Because he says that so much has happened to us through these centuries that we have lost our Shakti Bodh. We have lost the track of our Shakti Bodh. And therefore, these people come, publish, get prescribed, and vitiate and violate the entire, the minds and hearts of the millions and millions of Indian graduates over the years. Now time has come to take up. So he says that, of course, I seek an asceticism, I seek a materialism, but I seek an asceticism, remember, which shall question every statement, which shall question everything. An Indian, as a Sanatana Dharmi, I will, Nasadiya Sukta, what is Nasadiya Sukta? What is Upanishadic Darshan if there is no, what is Yagyavalkya and Gargi Samvada? Relentless questioning. No final questions. In human body, you have to transcend that body. You have to transcend body, spirit, and mind have to be harmonized. So it is only in that state you can understand truth, not articulate truth. So he says that as an ascetic, India should be full of ascetics, but ascetics are not the Bharat Todo program ascetics. They are also ascetics. They go on hunger, they go on what Gandhi said, Satyagraha. They go on Duragraha. They go on fasts, hunger strikes. As I said, that this friend of ours, this created a wonderful book full of essays, but the politics of representing India through Gandhi and Aurobindo is highly flawed, because it is supporting those asuric forces, those rakshasic forces that are out to destroy India, the snakes in the Ganga, as Rajiv Malhotra said. So he said that I seek an asceticism that shall question everything, but shall have the patience to deny nothing that may possibly be true. So if I have another perspective, that is welcome. That perspective should be rooted in my own sense of dharma. Whether that is good for humanity or not, we have to check out. Perspectival differences. It's not possible to have that, to simplify the entire problem, cultural integration of India, saying, Ishwar Allah tero naam, sabko sanmati de Bhagwan. Until or unless you tell us as to what the notion of Allah and God is in those Abrahamic faiths, how can it become one with Ishwar? That is Jnanapath. Only then Karmapath will be charted out. You want a Karmapath, you want a Kartavya. You are directing Indians to follow a path which is self-negating, because it will only pave the road for others who would come over us from all sides and will do whatever they have done in the past also. I'm sorry. So he said that this asceticism, then he says that I need rationalism. Who says that Sanatan Dharma is not rational? All Vedanta is perhaps one of the most rational. Nyaya is happening in 6th century. Look at this Suktas. Look at the Brahma Sutra. Brahma Sutra by Vyasaji. Relentless questioning. Bhagavad Gita, relentless questioning, and then responses from what we call Parameshwar, the Yogeshwar. It is not that Arjun took everything for granted. Relentless questioning. And then he says that rationalism, but that rationalism that presupposes a tadatmya, a kind of understanding, a kind of integration with the question as well as the response. So this is the Guru Shishya Parampara. Their Guru and Shishya, they both are engaged in the, it's a convergence of these two viewpoints. Like Shastrartha Vada between Mandan Mishra and Shankara created Sureshwar. It is from Advaita and Dvaita that Vishishtadvaita comes into being, that changed the cultural, that expanded, furthered the cultural making of Bharat. That is how Bharat was undergoing a process of cultural churning. इस सांस्कृतिक एक परिवर्तन की ओर भारत जा रहा था. So he says that we cannot be blind to reason. We cannot be blind to all these methods of inquiry, you know. And then he says that in short, I seek not science, not religion, not theosophy, but a Veda. The truth about Brahman. Veda means knowledge. So I seek that knowledge. I seek that. That is the essence of being a Bharati. That a Bharatiya would seek that knowledge, that truth about Brahman. That so if we are not Brahma Tej, then Brahma Satya kaise hum samajh sakte hain? Satya, that is Brahma, presupposes Brahma Tej also. Whether we acquire it through Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, or through the samanvaya of all these three paths. That is our take on it. But this Brahma has got to be understood for the emancipation of. Whether one who never reads Sanskrit, like most of our bhaktas, they never went to the Vedas and learned Sanskrit. They had access to that vision in the Bhakti tradition, but still they like a Kabir, not Tulsidas. Tulsidas has the Marga as well as the Desi, if you want to pay it. So Tulsidas is eminently Lokik as well as Alokik. Kabirdas is Alokik as well as Lokik. Kabirdas and Tulsidas, no division can be made on the basis of Saguna and Nirguna. Because Saguna cannot be, ultimately it is Nirguna. But Nirguna also presupposes Saguna. Nirguna is useless. As he said, that's Nirguna, any kind of abstraction of truth merely for the sake of satisfying your intellectual ego is blindness. You know, very strong words. I believe that concealed divinity within Hinduism, but a veil has to be drawn aside and curtain has to be lifted. I believe the future of India and the world to depend on its discerning and on its application, not to the renunciation of life, but to the life in the world and among men. Look at this. Renunciation is good. Tena tektena bhunjita ma gradha kasasya dhanam, but ishavashyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Renunciation alone is not India. Vairagya alone is not India. This is important, sir. Anasakti is Vairagya. Look at how he describes Virakta, Bhagavad Gita mein. What is Anasakta karma? What is Nishkama karma? Tyag, Dana, Buddhi, Karma, Sattvic, Tamasic, Rajasic. Even Gyan can be Tamasic. Ravan's Gyan can be juxtaposed with Ram's Gyan. Ram's karma and Ravan's karma. Ravana was a Brahmin, Ram a Kshatriya. Ravana, Rathi, Viratha, Raghuvira. Ravana, Asura, had that Jnana, which was Asuric, Tamasic, Rajasic. Trailokya Vijay kiya. Difference kahan tha? वो सत्य में था. Okay. So this future of India, this ekatmakata is to be drawn. These sources are, and then he said in that, 16th of March, 1908, in Bande Mataram, he's writing again on rights and duties. Don't equate rights and duties with dharma and adhikar or kartavya. These are the Western constructions. And he says that don't equate because India is the land of Dharma. He says that Dharma is the Indian conception in which rights and duties lose their artificial antagonism. That antagonism, 1908 he's writing. So आपको fundamental duties अलग करनी पड़ी, which are non-justiciable. अरविंद जी, कोई कोर्ट में नहीं जा सकता. हम कर इस राष्ट्र के प्रति हमारा कोई कर्तव्य नहीं, हमारे अधिकार. ये कैसा भारतीय संविधान है, ये कैसा भारतीय विधान है. वो कहता है ये राइट्स एंड ड्यूटीज में डिवाइड करने का, देयर इज ए सेपरेटिव कॉन्शियसनेस क्यों आई आप में, ये विभाजित बुद्धि क्यों आई, ये राजसी बुद्धि क्यों आई आप में. आपकी तो सात्विक बुद्धि होनी चाहिए थी, तो उसमें तो धर्म होना चाहिए था. There is no artificial antagonism between rights and duties, but only in a dharmic framework, this antagonism, this duality does not exist. Dharma is the basis of democracy, which Asia must recognize, for in this lies the distinction between the soul of Asia and the soul of Europe. तो आपका कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बना, चलिए बहुत बना. वो कैसे बना, संपदानंद जी और आप सब विद्वान लोग जानते हैं कि कैसे गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया Act was metamorphosed into, transmuted, transformed, translated into the Constitution of India with some kind of, yes, a lot of thinking was done, but the elements of dharma, they were taken away. It doesn't give any cognizance. How can you be secular, socialist at the same time? And then you say that we the people of India, वो तो मतलब भी नहीं मालूम है उनको. आज तक हम लोग यही समझाते रहते हैं सोशलिस्ट का मतलब क्या होता है, रिपब्लिक का मतलब क्या होता है. But we are, then the Hindi translation is the translated text which is not non-juridical in nature. So whatever is Indian is non-juridical. It is non-intellectual. It is not worth prescribing in Indian universities to train young minds, to infuse and inspire them. So ये एक running battle. And then the Uttar Para speech. राष्ट्र का बीज क्या है, जब राष्ट्र ही नहीं है. ध्यान रहे, राष्ट्र और राज की दोनों की धातु रज है. संपदानंद जी, रज से ही राष्ट्र आया है, जो मैंने आपको रज के अर्थ बताए. उनके यहाँ नेशन है और स्टेट है, एंड ए स्ट्रेंज एनिमल कॉल्ड नेशन स्टेट. उनकी पद्धति अलग है. वो तो उनके यहाँ 200 साल पुराना सब हिस्ट्री है उनके पास नेशन की, तो उनको मुबारक. Why have we imposed on us the notions of nationhood and statehood, you know, after the West? Who told you? After 1947, है ना. आपको 47 के बाद तो बात नहीं होना चाहिए था. But so he says that 30th May 1909, the Uttar Para, which I think this is the first thing that the graduates of, I think, not only the Rishihood University, but all the universities, all the schools, starting from kindergarten to the highest PhD or DLED, in whatever discipline, cutting across disciplinary boundaries. This should be the, as I said, the preamble and the preface. This should be the preface and preamble of Constitution of India. What is this? When therefore it is said that India shall rise, it is the Sanatan Dharma shall rise. When it is said that India shall be great, it is the Sanatan Dharma that shall be great. This is political Vedantism. If you call it political, राजनीति, यही हमारी नीति होना चाहिए, यही हमारी राजनीति होना चाहिए. Politics नहीं होना चाहिए. हम तो politics कर रहे हैं. When it is said that India shall be great, it is the Sanatan Dharma that shall be great. When it is said India shall expand and extend herself, it is Sanatan Dharma that shall expand and extend itself. मत भूलिए कि even those who migrated from the fold of Sanatan Dharma and joined Buddhism, because all are Sanatan Dharmi drishtis, darshanas, Jain, Bauddha, Sikh. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar wrote his last book, seminal book, The Buddha and His Dhamma. He rejected the path of Karl Marx and Marxism. Karl Marx or Dharma. The Kathmandu Address, famous essay. So he says that it is this Sanatana Dharma, which is not a process of proselytizing Indians to something called community of or text of with a prophet at the center. No, it is this life condition that we have to achieve and attain, which is Sanatan Dharma centric, real life condition. And therefore he says that it is the Sanatan Dharma that shall expand and extend itself over the world. Therefore Chola Samraj. Therefore you visit the Islamic state of Indonesia and you are still awestruck to see the symbols of Sanatan Dharma or Hindu Dharma is still there. In Vietnam, the Ramayana being played. In Thailand, Malaysia. But we did not colonize and convert all those people to become the community of Hindus. That is the problem. Still, we help others, but we do not send Sampadanandji and Sudhir Kumar and Neelav and Raj Senaji to convert others to our faiths. No, we never do that. And therefore, he said, it is for this dharma and by this dharma that India exists. So dharma eva hato hanti, dharma rakshati rakshata. If you let go of this under dharma, and you then go on manufacturing intellectualized version of dharma nirpekshita. No, mine is some dharma sambhav. Again, another sign of imbecility is this construction called samadharma sambhav, sarva dharma sambhav. Sambhav is good, but Sanatan Dharma sambhav ho sakta hai. Wherever I find the elements of Sanatan Dharma, I have a samatva bhav. Samatva hi to yog mein aana hai, Bhagavad Gita says. Finally, read chapter 16, as I do not have the time. Asuri Sampadananji would perhaps have a session on those Asuri Sampati. What was the need of explaining the Asuri Sampada more than the Deviya Sampada? Raj Senaji, it's a question. हम लोग करेंगे ऋषि उनसे मिश्र जी से, रामेश्वर मिश्र पंकज जी से. This is stark realism. This is nothing else but yatharthavad. Our feet are firmly planted on the soil of world, on the soil of this globe, on the soil of in this sansara. We know what this sansara and sansarikta can do to us. And therefore, but what is Hindu religion? Mind you, these books also avoid what is Brahmanical? Everything that is written in Sanskrit, oppressive, caste-centric, they never tell others that the Manusmriti, that is called the text of Brahminism or Brahmanicalism or whatever you call Orthodox Hinduism, it has a position that the Brahmana will become Shudra, Shudra will become Brahman, the Vaishya will become Brahman, the Vaishya may become Shudra. All these occupational divisions, which are Varnas, are mobile. They are transposable, because if you do being Shudra, you can be a Brahman. This is Manusmriti. क्यों नहीं बताया गया? शूद्रो ब्राह्मणा ब्राह्मणताम में थी, ब्राह्मणश्चेति शूद्रताम, क्षत्रियात् जातम एवं तु विद्वात् ऐश्चात् तथैव च. ऐसा ही जानिए, शूद्र ब्राह्मण हो सकता है, ब्राह्मण शूद्र हो सकता है, वैश्य क्षत्रिय हो सकता है, क्षत्रिय. It is on your karma. So Sri Aurobindo says that enough has been done by imposing a casteist understanding of this. Yes, there are aberrations. He says that Jati Pratha as it exists now is reprehensible. Both Gandhi and Sri Aurobindo are against it. And so is Dr. Ambedkar. But he says that for God's sake, do not throw the baby with the bathwater. Because this is not all bad. Varna is an inevitable position. Read Annihilation of Caste by Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, 1936. He said that there is nothing wrong in Varna. It is only the hereditary, hierarchical structure, this ranking of human beings in terms of social, cultural, economic, political prestige, which is dangerous, which is a later phenomenon, historically speaking. So what is this religion which we call Sanatana? Why do we call it Sanatana Dharma? He says that because it is universal religion, which shall embrace all others. There is no other religion which can embrace all others. That is the problem with religion. Term itself is so limited, is so restrictive in nature. And therefore, if religion is not universal, if dharma is not universal, then it is not eternal. And therefore, this Sanatan Dharma is one religion that can triumph over materialism by including and anticipating the discoveries of science and the speculations of philosophy. And therefore, he said that this is open to science. I mean to say, Vidya or Avidya, Ishavasya Upanishad. Those who are engrossed in Adhyatma Vidya enter greater darkness than those who are obsessed with Avidya. जो worldly knowledge है, जो material knowledge है, उससे भी ज़्यादा, if you are obsessed with spirituality and you ignore the worldly knowledge, you are sure to enter the greater darkness. हमारा ऋषि कह रहा है, उपनिषद कह रहा है, और वही श्री अरविंदो कह रहे हैं. Our being spiritual does not mean that there is a secular world outside that we are. No, it's a holistic, it's a total vision. Nothing is outside the spiritual. Nothing is outside the spiritual. So he says it's one. So therefore he said that in the beginning I said that this movement, Swadeshi movement of those days, it's not a political movement, and that nationalism is not politics, but a religion, a dharma, a creed, a faith. I say it again today, but with a different emphasis. What he says, I say it again today, but I put it in another way. And this another way is significant. That is, I say no longer that nationalism is a creed, a religion, a faith. That's why मैंने आपसे कहा, nationalism is not Rashtravad. It is Rashtra Darshana. It is Rashtra Bhakti. Nationalism is not a religion, a faith. I say that it is Sanatana Dharma that is nationalism. It is Sanatana Dharma that is nationalism. This is the message that I have to speak to you. And this is the message of Bharat to the world. Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much, Professor Sudhir Kumar ji, for this highly informative lecture. We started by discussing how these new historians or philosophers talk only about Brahminical stranglehold and speak nothing of the Vedanta and ideals. We also talked about many epistemological and etymological differences between the terms, key terms that are used in the Western tradition and our tradition, and you explained how politics can never be Rajniti, Siksha can never be education, and so on and so forth. Also, you quoted Sri Aurobindo, where he said that the Sanatan Dharma is the true politics, and it is the fulfillment of Sanatan Dharma as the only Swaraj, so to say. So thank you very much, sir. And I would like to ask and request the audience quickly if they can go ahead with few questions. Then, do we have any questions? Okay. All right. So thank you very much, sir, again for this lecture. And,
So I have a question,
yeah, please go ahead.
and it's not a question. It's how empowered we feel after listening to Sudhir ji, and this is the most wonderful speech ever heard. And a lot of light was thrown into Sri Aurobindo's fire, which was burning in the professor's speech. And it was something amazing. And thanks a lot. And keep us in your heart and let us fight for the right Dharma. And the real essence of Sanatana Dharma was understood only today. And what people speak is not at all connected to the Dharma which Sri Aurobindo has written. And Sri Aurobindo spoke through Professor Ji is what I can tell. Thank you so much, and Namaste Ji.
Thank you very much, Nandini ji, for your support, good remarks. And so we will like to conclude now. And thank you very much, Professor Sudhir Kumarji, once again. Indian Council of Philosophical Research and Sanchidanand Mishra ji for sponsoring this lecture series where we get to learn so much from so many esteemed speakers. And Professor Sampananand Mishra ji for coming up with the concept of organizing this lecture series. So thanks again, and all our participants for joining us today. We would like to close by observing a minute of silence. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We will see each other very soon for the last two lectures of this series. Thank you very much.